I would like to note that there is an amendment on the order paper to the second stage motion in respect of pet theft brought by the Regional Independence Group, and I look forward to speaking further on this in my closing remarks. As the deputies will be aware, this is a very important issue for me and one I have previously introduced as a private member's bill in respect of. Pet theft is an incredibly traumatic crime. We all know the strong emotional attachment we all have to our pets, and theft not only leads to their loss in our lives, but also a high level of concern for their welfare and what has happened to them. They are crimes which often affect and indeed are often targeted against older and particularly vulnerable people for whom a pet is a huge emotional importance. Since becoming Minister of State, I have committed to addressing this, and I have met with my colleague, the Minister for Agriculture, before Christmas in relation to this matter, and I have also had a number of discussions with Minister McEntee in relation to the matter as well. Contact is continuing on an official level with the Department of Agriculture as we work on options, and I look forward to hearing Deputies' views. I recognise and I appreciate Deputy Naughton's real and genuine interest in this matter and for discussing the matter with me as well. I would emphasise that while legislative changes may be considered and may be needed, we also need to look at a full range of policy and enforcement options to ensure that this very serious matter is addressed. There is a practical issue, as I've set out, in terms of the urgency of this bill before the House, as it needs to pass over in the next week or 10 days. It isn't a suitable vehicle for making changes in the area, and I can't agree to deferring second stage by a month as referred to in the motion. That being said, I am absolutely willing to work with the deputies on the issue of pet theft and to introduce appropriate, well-considered and effective measures. I look forward to considering the bill further with deputies, and I commend this bill to the House.
Last Corla, first of all, can I move the amendment in my name and that of my colleagues? And the basis for this particular amendment is to bring forward a revision to this legislation that would clearly reflect that pets are much more than property, and that we have an amendment that would clearly set out a real deterrent against the growing crime of thefts of companion animals. And I move this amendment so that Dáil Éireann can consider a change in the law to act as a real deterrent against the theft of pets. And I think that we do need to increase the penalties in this area for people who steal companion pets, a practice that is on the rise since the introduction of the COVID restrictions last year. In the last year, there has been a significant increase in the number of reports of thefts of pets to An Garda Síochána, but under the current law, pets are considered property and are treated in the exact same way as the theft of a mobile phone. We all know that pets are much more than property. They are very much part of the family and homes right across this country. Sometimes the only friend to someone who is isolated, the guide for someone who is blind or has other sensory issues. And this needs to be clearly reflected in much stronger legislation. I'd just like to remind Deputy Dáil, in relation to his comments earlier, that last year An Garda Síochána received 14 reports a day of animals being stolen or lost, and this particular practice has a very heartbreaking impact on the individual owners of these animals. And the present law doesn't take into account this emotional distress of the theft of a family pet, which, as we all know, is far greater than the theft of a mobile phone or another piece of property. Yet the legislation remains the same in the treatment of people involved in stealing family pets. And there are also unscrupulous people who, particularly during the lockdown, are exploiting a vulnerable owner of pets who steal the animal and then claim the reward for the safe return of that beloved animal. And of course, from an animal welfare perspective, there's also a very serious impact on the pet, and this can lead to long-term emotional or behavioural problems for that particular animal. Now, despite some criticism earlier here in the House, the fact is that there is cross-party support that companion pets must be treated much more than property, and that the law should and must reflect that. Across Dáil there's support in all parties and from independents to see a change in the existing law so that it acts as a real deterrent against the growing crime and to make it clear that we will act to ensure that there are significant penalties for those who steal or attempt to actually steal pets. So I want to welcome the comments of the Minister earlier on, and I hope that he can accept the sentiments of the amendment that we have proposed. Thank you.